were recently nominated for something kind of cool, but there's some voting that has to happen now.
We talked about this on the last podcast. We were nominated for Best Nonprofit and Best Place to Volunteer by the People's Choice Award for Des Moines. The voting for that has opened on April 23rd. By the time this podcast airs on the 25th, it'll be open.
Yep.
We are going to include the link to our very specific voting page, which we have, dedicated some time to, and
which means it'll take you 5 seconds to vote for us.
Exactly.
Yeah. Oh my dog. Dog.
Oh my dog, hey.
Oh my dog, hello.
You know what today is?
Our 1-year anniversary.
Well, we've had a lot of anniversaries, but this is our 1-year podcast anniversary, which was very exciting.
Oh, yes. That's what I meant.
Yeah.
So we started this podcast on April 26th of last year.
Well, that was when our first
April
one
25th.
came out, so probably about exactly right.
It's 1 year.
Yeah,
We're calling it 1 year. Yay, us. And we've only missed the 2-week hiatus, the spring break that we went on.
Spring break, yeah.
But which I think is fabulous.
But we're still hitting episode 51 and 52, so
right.
Out. Yeah.
I think we're doing great.
Yes, it's good. And along the way, of course, our friend up in Wisconsin has so kindly named him the man pet, but our wonderful Tanner, who helps us do all of this, is with us as well. And he's been sitting through all of this and being forced to listen to it more than once over the course of last year.
And I have been listening to other podcasts, and obviously there's the professional podcasts like
that have like a lot of money.
What's the murder one?
Yeah, My Favorite Murder.
My Favorite Murder. They're obviously, high end. They're well on their way. They've got high end. But you listen to other like lower end podcasts that are just starting out.
Yeah.
Obviously on a budget. And I am so very thankful for Tanner when I listen to those podcasts, because I'm like, this audio sucks.
Yes, ours, it does sound good. And one time we tried to see if we could figure out how to podcast on our own in my office, and we couldn't even get the microphones to connect. So
no, we're not. We don't have time for this.
We're not doing this.
We do not have time for this.
No.
But we love our Tanner. He's our producer. He owns...
Yeah, we own Studio 205, which is where you guys are recording.
Mm-hmm. Here in Slater, Iowa.
Yes, it's a beautiful town, little town. You could drive your golf carts all around, show up.
Absolutely.
Grab a cocktail next to the bike trail and record a podcast after you want.
Which we do every other week.
Yes, I mean, don't get that wrong. I don't bicycle, but we do record a podcast.
We
drive here.
Yes.
In a vehicle with 4 wheels.
We are very fortunate to produce quite a few podcasts, a dozen or so, and there's probably been 3 to 4 that haven't made it very long, and I was thoroughly surprised that you guys made it a year.
Oh,
I don't know how to feel about that comment.
I'm not going to take offense to it. I know what he meant, but yes.
It takes a lot of dedication to show up.
Yeah.
Just to show up and do it. I want to applaud you guys for taking the 2 weeks off that you needed to. That's a big decision because it can place a lot of guilt on somebody.
Yeah.
You have an audience that you feel like you need to show up for,
right,
as well as yourselves. So I applaud you for the foresight there, but you also have a very good rhythm, the two of you.
I think so.
I liked dogs. I've never been a lover, like a huge lover of dog. When you talk about your that special pet that you'll never forget, your heart dog. I don't have one of those. Always grew up around livestock. Right. But I will argue I have a closer relationship with our dog now currently, Maxie, than I ever did, based upon some of the perspectives that you've shared, as well as probably a connection more to my wife, because I think every dog's a heart dog for her.
Yeah, she's a good one.
We really hope you guys can join us on one of our appreciation dinners, which we're doing quarterly now. We so appreciate all of the time and effort that you put into making us sound great.
It's true.
It's got to be a lot of work.
Some days are worse than others, I think, probably.
It's not bad. You've gotten a lot better. I take a lot less notes now than I did to begin with.
Oh, good.
A lot of the quirks, one, just make you who you are. But two, I think your listeners appreciate the quality, and I appreciate you guys letting us produce it. In the beginning, a dog rescue podcast wasn't something I thought I would sit here and be super interested in.
Wasn't on your bingo card, huh?
It was not.
It was a free space.
It was not. But I've thoroughly enjoyed it. We switched. One of the first things I remember doing because of this podcast is switching the food we gave our dog.
Oh,
nice.
Yep.
Oh, Holly's very proud
I'm
now.
so happy.
It's not like I remember you looking up the food that we were feeding, and it's not like we were feeding a bad dog food. It just only had like a 3 rating. Was it 3 to 5 or
Yeah,
3.5?
Yeah.
Yeah. And we just stepped it up a little bit. It's the only dog we have, and we want to take care of little Maxie. So that was one thing that, boom, right away made a switch. And then it's also fascinating. I didn't know a lot about foster dog rescues. You know, how you go through the process of not having a shelter,
Right.
a home base, and how you get a lot of this in. Through conversations, I found out that I've got 3 neighbors on my streets that foster dogs.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh.
I always thought, like, they just adopted dogs that didn't last very long. You'd see the dog running around,
and then it's not there
like
anymore.
2 months later, you wouldn't. They'd have a different dog. You're like, wow, this is fascinating. But through conversation, you find out that no, they're a part of a system, a tribe.
Love that.
Nice. Oh, that's good.
Now we just need to get them onboarded.
Right.
My wife went and got her haircut last weekend, and was just talking about what's going on here at the studio, and brought up your podcast, and found out that her hairstylist knows you.
Who is that?
I knew you were going to ask me. I don't know
Is
who
it
she
Desi?
is. She works in Huxley.
Huxley.
She knew Kara.
Oh, well,
Yeah.
I'm out.
Yeah, I don't. Unsure, but
But
that's great.
Love that connection, though.
Yeah. We're popping up everywhere. It's been pretty fun. Like, so obviously we started this podcast fairly early into the like creation of our rescue, right? But it was still like
a year
about
in.
a year in.
Yeah.
And in the time that we've been doing this, I feel like it's grown so much.
Oh.
And in a big part to like us having this resource to share with people has been really huge. So I was just thinking back to like some of the episodes that we've done that we share a lot. And I feel like they've been shared a lot by other people, not just us, you know, as a resource. So like, you know, when you bring a dog home, the 333, if you Google the 333, we come up. And it's not just like I've done it like where I'm not Googling like under my account because I'm like, well, this is just skewed because I've looked this up so many times. But like,
Sure.
it's actually pulling up as like a pretty top resource for that particular idea, which, you know,
Nice.
yeah, which is very cool. And then I know we have people call in to like surrender their dogs about like, oh, I have a new baby coming. And so we've got that episode that we share a lot.
And how to DIY rehome.
Yep.
For the dogs that we don't have space for or don't feel like we can take them on. We can send that as a resource for them, you know, to be able to do it on their own. It's been great to be able to just forward it. But, you know, that's an idea there is to add the 333 episode like as a QR code to our contract or something.
Yeah, we should.
That would be a great idea.
Yeah, I could drop that on there really easy. That is a good idea because we send it a lot.
It's fun in the podcasting land of when somebody wants to start a show, I always try to encourage them to kind of view it as a library. If you start off not knowing what you want to talk about, in the beginning it's hard because you don't have a huge audience. So it's best to kind of put those most frequently asked questions or most frequently dealt with issues into your first couple of episodes because it gives you a reason to share it and to continue to pass it along. And I'm curious, have you guys come across an episode that outperformed others that surprised you?
I was just asking Kara about some stats, and
Yeah.
we use what's the website?
Well, we do the Simplecast to get it out there.
And
it's a little funky.
Analytics are a little funky, but
let me see. Top episode is our episode 1 still is that like Indianola 10 at least through this. It doesn't track Spotify for some reason,
correct.
so that's like separate from it. But there's that 333, Perry 7,
which we share the 333 one.
The other one that did get a lot of listens was about like the e-collars. Which and I think it's because it can be a little divisive. Like our trainer doesn't like them. Like in fact, he sent me a text message the other day, and he goes, "I know that you like use e-collars, and just so you know, when you send people to me, I'm not going to use that as a tool." I said, "That's fine. That's why I'm sending them to you because I need your resource."
Other options.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that one has been higher. I thought for sure, just because of the horrible name, the Porn Den episode would be higher, but it's not even in the top 10.
Rude.
But yeah.
Do you have an episode that had a guest on it that did really well?
I really liked having Nadia here to talk about her dog athletics. That was super
fun. I need
fun.
to get on that. That reminds me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know.
Put that on my
she
thing.
started some new sports.
I saw that this weekend.
Like, what? There's more?
I'm putting that on my to-do list because I was supposed to. My dad is so excited for Tater to do this barn hunt thing.
Yeah, we got to do it.
Chihuahua thing.
Yes.
Because she continues to kill
the little shrews and things. And
moles. Which they're very destructive. So, if you're opposed to that kind of thing, I'm sorry, but it's better than poison, I guess.
She's got a job, yeah.
Anyway, and then Stanley, he is all over everything down at the lake.
He can.
When I'm moving like piles of tin or wood or whatever, and there's always mice and things scurrying out from underneath them, he is like bam on it. So
Does he kill them or he just chases?
Well, I think he would kill a mouse if he got a hold of it.
Right. Yeah. I just didn't know if he ever caught any or if he was
I haven't really set him up for success in that arena, to be honest with you. And I'm not necessarily looking for him to kill anything.
Right. I just wondered if he kind of had that drive or
maybe terrorizes them a little bit is good enough for me.
Because our podcast, it's almost 6 years old now. We've found those shows that do really well and those topics that do well and the guests that do well, and we revisit them. But after 6 years, they've been on 3 or 4 times. So our top 10 is pretty much 3 different people.
Right.
Just the different times that they've come on. It's
that's
fascinating to see what your listeners want to pick up on. But we've had 2 episodes of ours in the last 45 days that have set records. And one, we had no idea. The guest is even more monotone than myself. And didn't have a super intriguing topic to talk about. Now, I joked that he was a piece of man candy, but that doesn't fix audio. Like you can't.
Right. Like, how does that come across on a podcast?
Right.
Who is this person?
Yeah.
Let me go ahead and Google him.
Yeah, his name's Brandon Strutzenberg. Good luck spelling Strutzenberg.
Okay.
But we'd expected it to be a normal episode, and all of a sudden it's blowing through the ceiling, which is
what was the topic?
Fascinating. It was on tile installation and excavating contracting.
Oh, he owns Strutzenberg, a farm drainage and excavator.
Yes.
That is so funny that you bring that up because yesterday my family and I got together for a family gathering, not Easter related. It was in memory of my grandma. Her birthday is today. We got together yesterday as a family, and we got off on, just sitting around talking around the table about tiling and the effects of tiling and how it affects the water quality and how certain nitrate levels, especially this time of year, and it's blah, blah, blah. So that's very timely that you bring that up.
When I first started dating Marcus, before we started dating, we wrote letters and things while he was in basic training. And when he got back from basic training, he got this job from a family friend doing tiling, and he would come home and just be absolutely filthy because he was down in the hole,
right?
Yeah.
And I was just like, what? How long are you gonna do this for? This is a terrible job. It's such hard work.
Yeah,
that's funny. Yeah.
I just have never.
The fun part about the tiling, and I don't need to make this an agricultural episode for your listeners, but the fun part about tiling is when it's done right with the right contractor, tiling is better than surface drainage. Because when it runs off the top of the soil or runs into a ditch, that's everything that's been broadcast on the top of the soil. Manure, fertilizer, whatever it is. But if it can filter through 4 to 6 to 8 feet of soil to get to the tile, that's Mother Nature's way of cleansing it. And then if you do an edge of field practice, like a bioreactor, which is typically wood chips or some type of material that also can capture, it can be some of the most environmentally friendly acts if you do it right.
And see, this is what we were talking about, is the pattern tiling.
Yep.
And CRP and the balance and why CRP is so heavily subsidized and et cetera. And it's that has to do with production control and so on and so forth. But
that history is fascinating. To someone like me who's an ag geek,
yeah,
it was actually
the history of CRP is
very fascinating conversation in a very politically what's the word I want to use?
Potentially charged environment.
I mean,
divisive.
I think as a family, we're all aligned.
Similar opinions?
Yeah.
Ish.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But in environmental things that obviously, and from a farming family, we're obviously very aligned on that stuff.
And, to loop this all back around to dogs.
Oh, that's what we're talking about. Sorry,
this is a terrible way to loop it back around, but we had
You're a professional now. It's great.
We had a family dog growing up whose name was Muskrat, actually, which is why I know what a muskrat looks like.
You got to bring this in, don't you?
His name was Muskrat, and he was an awesome dog, and he had really bad arthritis, and the vet thought that if we amputated one of the legs that was really having a hard time, that he would do better. Turns out he did not, so he passed away shortly after we amputated one of the legs.
Oh, no.
And, on the farm, you don't, pay to have your dog cremated. So I remember very distinctly my mom coming back and having the dog in the car after he had been put to sleep, and my dad buried him in a tiling hole because we were having tiling done in the field. So that dog is buried with some tile.
Which is funny because we just talked.
Good way to loop it back.
Yeah, but we just talked about with Codapet.
Yes.
Being euthanized.
Yes.
And
you can
next to a water,
Yes, it probably wasn't very good.
Those chemicals leaching into your water source.
Oh yeah. Well, I probably got some sort of something coming later from my dead dog.
Just don't drink water from the
streams. Did you get really
streams.
sleepy after you got a glass of water?
Well, and we grew up, I know, I don't know if everybody's farm was like this, but we had well water,
I did too.
It was
so good.
It tastes really good. It has a
so
flavor.
Good.
And I remember the first time I had bottled water that had no flavor. You're or city water or whatever. Yep. I'm like, wow, this doesn't taste like anything. What do you blech.
I think that's why I like Dasani, and nobody likes Dasani.
My friend
Jessica
I
love
Dasani. I don't like it. It does have a flavor though. But my
I
body's
think that's
gotten used to I like the alkaline.
Your animals can also tell the difference because at the feed yard, we typically run on well water. Mm-hmm. But it got dry last summer and the well just wasn't keeping up. So we had to turn rural water on to keep the livestock happy. And they didn't drink as much.
Really?
Oh,
yep. So even the difference between well water and rural water.
So like that orange water.
Yeah. High iron levels. Yeah.
My brother was talking about the water treatment plant and how even after the water has been treated, they could still detect, at a very small level, blood pressure medication, certain types of medication would, even after it was treated, would still come through, and how that is affecting the population and how that's
my land
affecting birth
and is that
defects
from our waste that gets treated? Or,
right.
Yeah.
So your wastewater that goes into the Des Moines River and then gets treated at a treatment plant.
Right.
And then it still has, and that stuff wasn't around 50 years.
Not to get super divisive, but one step further from that, if you've ever gone on a water treatment plant tour, they treat the water, and what they take out of the water goes back into the river to go down to the next
Go ahead
person.
and float it. Yeah.
Right.
What?
The reason it came
not
up.
Your problem anymore doesn't mean you can make it somebody else's problem.
Well, the reason it came up was because of that chemical spill up in Lizard Creek, up in Fort Dodge, and Fort Dodge was like, "Well, we don't really give a shit because it's all going downstream." It's like, well, thanks a lot.
Oh man.
Anyway,
we're all gonna die from something, I guess.
First of all, congratulations on making it a year. I expect you guys to continue for many years to come, and I hope that we get to be a part of it. It's fun listening to your perspectives. We get to have off mic conversations and don't always agree on every topic that's discussed when the mics are turned off, but it's cool that we can sit here and share that care for animals and continue to pass that passion along.
Love it.
Yeah. Well,
I love being here.
I do too. This is fun.
It's our audio diary.
It is. That's what I say. Not everybody has that. If we think about when our parents are gone someday, how many places do we have to listen to their voices and hear their stories and things like that? I just think that it's really important, and it's important for me to pass along our passion and our ideas to generations after us of dog rescuers. People that are here's how things are going now, and here's what we're struggling with. Well, 10 years ago, this is what happened, and here's what was changed. And I think we'll see some change in the time that we're doing this. Hopefully in the laws in our state, and hopefully in some of the practices of the folks that are trying to do right by by dogs. So
I got a friend of mine that he does legacy interviews.
Yes,
that's so cool.
That's what I'm talking about. Like,
yeah,
our friend Chris. Like, I so wish we had some sort of recording or something.
Yeah.
He packages it up in a very brief 4-hour or 6-hour chunk where you can gift this to your parents or your grandparents. They come into his studio, they sit down, they get to have a conversation with him. They spend time. Getting to, he's got a painting on the wall. He starts every interview the same because it's different people.
Yeah.
They got a painting on the wall, and he just asks them, "What do you see in this painting?" And the husband says something, and then the wife says something, and he says every time at the end of the interview he asks the same question again, because that's the painting that he catches them watching when they tell their stories. So they've been observing this painting for the entire time they do the conversation, and then they get a whole nother perspective for what's in it. Oh, well, she's got loving eyes, and she's really caring, whatever it ends up being.
Right.
But he'll do that. They'll start off together, and then he'll send one of them out, and Dad gets to be by himself. And then Mom comes in, Dad goes out, and then they come back together again. But he started it because everybody used to have photo albums and scrapbooks.
Oh, yeah.
And diaries.
My poor kid has nothing.
What
am I going to put out when she graduates?
We've got phones full of pictures.
Yeah.
We got a camera in our pocket. We take all these pictures.
Never look at them again. Never look at them
again. And when you die, unless someone has the lock code to your phone, you may not ever get access to them again.
Right.
What's his name?
His name is Vance Crow. He's out of St. Louis, but he travels all over the place.
Oh, that's cool. I go to St. Louis a lot.
But
that's a great Mother's and Father's Day gift.
It is. But you guys could even do this too with some of your volunteers or some people you respect in the industry. You could have them on for an episode.
Yeah.
And just let them tell their story.
About their experience and what they've...
That's a great idea.
I like
some
it.
Volunteers on.
Yeah.
Well, if you're a volunteer for OMD and you would like to join us on a podcast recording, please let us know in one of the, 8 million group chats that we have.
Yeah. You're probably messaging us right now.
Natasha's for sure messaging us right now about some shit show she's in.
Oh, my God. Well, speaking of folks who are supporting our mission, we were recently nominated for something kind of cool, but there's some voting that has to happen now.
We talked about this on the last podcast. We were nominated for Best Nonprofit and Best Place of Volunteer by the People's Choice Award for Des Moines. The voting for that has opened on April 23rd. By the time this podcast airs on the 25th, it'll be open.
Yep.
We are going to include the link to our very specific voting page, which we have, dedicated some time to, and
which means it'll take you 5 seconds to vote for us.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's a direct link to vote directly for us, so you don't have to scroll through all of the categories and subcategories to find OMD. It just takes you directly to our voting page. You can vote for both of them, and you can vote once per day per IP address. So if you have a work computer, you can vote from your work computer. You can vote from your phone.
Yep.
I'm not really exactly sure how IP addresses work. Is your phone different from your computer?
So yeah, your IP address is connected to the way that you're accessing the internet. So if you have a cellular connection, that's one. If you have an internet connection at work, that's another. And if you have an internet connection at home, that's another. Go to the library, go to the bar with Wi-Fi. All of those things are different IP addresses.
Wonderful. Okay.
Yeah.
So that link will be in these notes. We are going to be posting that on our social media for the entire 2 weeks that the voting is open.
Yep.
We would really love to recognize Oh My Dog Rescue and all of its volunteers and the Mutt Mafia and everybody that makes this possible with this recognition, this accolade.
Yes, and I think
so please vote for us.
For me, we would love to win that award. I think it would be cool, but I think the bigger thing for us is, the more places that we can get our name out there is the more support that we can get from those people who maybe aren't able to get their boots dirty, but really want to support the mission, but they're not sure how or where to do it. And just to be able to share what we're doing and how we're doing it differently, I think it's nice the more publications and things we can get in to just spread the word. So.
Yeah. And we'll be sending this out to anybody that has adopted from us, any of our foster volunteers, everybody on Mutt Mafia page. So, anybody hearing
you're
this,
going to get blasted.
You're going to get blasted for 2
weeks,
and then it'll be done.
Yes.
But that's the way the cookie crumbles.
So Holly and I don't get to do too much, as she said, sketchy shit together anymore. We're so busy, like, doing...
I have a foster right now, and I'm like, I got a application for him, like, 2 days after I got... I'm like, you know what? Actually, if y'all could just...
I want to
wait
have a
minute.
foster for a minute and just
I would
know
like
him.
to just have... And I should have had this foster for...
a long time.
A while.
Yeah.
Based on his needs.
Yeah.
But, anyway... Yes, I love doing sketchy shit with Kara. We never get to do it anymore because
we're so busy with the the
everybody
day-to-day.
else gets to do all the fun sketchy shit except for us.
But Holly got a call from down where her pond is, down southern Iowa.
Yes, my real estate agent called out of down by Sun Valley, Lake Iowa. Elston, Iowa, I guess. And she said that there were these 3 dogs that had been hanging around this grain bin between Elston and Tingley on J20, if you're familiar with the area. And they'd been there all week, and nobody was speaking up for them, and she had stopped by, and a farmer had stopped by while she was, on the road, stopped on the shoulder and said, don't open your door.
Like, they're mean.
They're mean.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay. And so she wasn't really sure what to do, and I said, okay, let me get my team together. I messaged you guys. I was like, hey, this is a situation. If this is something we think we can help with, like, I'm going to need some backup. And also, an hour past Des Moines.
Right.
Like, an hour 40 for me.
Yeah.
So we need to schedule this. So Kara's like, yeah, I can go after work. I'll get Marcus to bring his truck. I'm like, great. Because we're probably going to need it.
Yes. So
and
we all left around the same time and kind of caravanned down there.
And Jessica Brown, realtor out of Sun Valley Lake, she sent a video. She had sent multiple pictures so we could see kind of what was going on.
Okay, whatever. And then a video.
She sent this video because she had taken food out there because they
were hungry.
Obviously.
They were eating spilled corn out of a grain bin.
And she had put some food down, and these dogs were fighting over the food, and I can't even I watched the video one time. I will never watch it again.
How you could ever get enjoyment out of watching dog fighting is beyond me.
It makes me sick.
It was so violent. Like, the one looked like it was going to kill the other one, and they were just trying to survive.
And they're a pack. Like,
yeah, it was
obviously
a pack of 3
a
siblings.
Pack
yeah.
For a while, and they're still that aggressive towards each other. It was really heartbreaking. Like I said, I watched it the one time, and I have not watched it ever again, and I never will.
No. But anyway, we hopped in the cars, and
that kind of scared us off. We were like,
oh God, maybe we
can't
do anything about these dogs.
How are we even gonna get them in kennels? Like, we had a plan.
Yeah.
We loaded up. We headed down.
All of our supplies.
Everything. And we got there and met Jessica at the location, and there was no dogs anywhere.
Yep.
And this is at a grain bin in the middle of nowhere.
Literally nothing around it.
There's not a farm, there's not a house, there's nothing around it. And I'm like, Jessica shows up and she's all embarrassed.
She's like, oh my God, you guys just drove.
We just drove
an hour and a half.
So come to find out, after some scouting and phone calls and whatnot, like half an hour before we got there, literally 30 minutes before we were on site, somebody else had come and picked up 2 of the 3. They couldn't get the third one, but they got 2 of the 3, and one of them was the one that was getting ate alive.
Yeah, just ripped apart.
And they were just a few miles west of there in Tingley, and so I said, okay, let's go check them out. So we followed Jessica over to Tingley, over to Lisa's house, and Lisa had gotten the 2. She happens to own a grooming facility and is primarily based out of West Des Moines.
But has a little shop behind
her house in Tingley, and had gotten them both in and bathed and cleaned up and gotten the wounds kind of
sprayed out at least,
Yeah. And they were separated in kennels, and they were sweet.
Yeah, they were just exhausted.
So tired.
Yeah.
And the one with its face was all
ripped apart.
And
She said there was a really bad abscess on the other one that was just like draining when she was bathing him. And so these are 2 males. Clearly litter mates, had under a year old, I would say. The vet agreed, probably 10 to 11 months old. So at that point, we're like, okay, well, we're ready to load them up, and she was like, if you want, I can sign up to foster for you guys and, like, take care of them, which was music to our ears because we were going to, we had nowhere to take them. We had no plan here, except for that Courtney had agreed at their vet clinic that we could have them boarded there temporarily just to get them safe.
Right.
But after that, I don't know what we would have done with them,
But we explained to her very clearly, very explicitly clearly, that legally she owned these dogs
at that moment
because she was in possession of the dogs. So just like anybody else driving up and down that road, they could have stopped and picked up the dogs and they would have been in possession of the dog. And so if she wanted to keep the dogs and vet the dogs and find them homes on her own, she was more than welcome to do that.
Right.
And would be a saint for doing so.
Yes.
That vet bill for those 2 dogs was over $1,000.
Yeah, it was like $1,300, I think.
So we also explained to her what we do, who we are, how we run things, and if she wanted to surrender the dogs and sign up as a foster for Oh My Dog, which includes signing a waiver and all the legal paperwork and blah, 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 whatever.
Yeah.
That we would cover the vet bills and she could continue to foster them. And if she so decided to adopt one I don't think we would have adopted both of them out. We wouldn't have let them both go out
together, but
if she wanted to adopt one of them, that would have been fine and so on and so forth. So she did end up surrendering 2 of the 3 dogs.
Because the next day she went and bought a trap and was able to trap the 3rd one on her own, which was awesome.
Right, absolutely. I mean, those traps are not cheap, by the way. Anyway, the 2 of the 3 went to the vet the very next day. They were treated for their wounds, antibiotics, pain meds. They were actually neutered the same day at Southern Hills in Cruston, and they're microchipped and vaccinated and all the things. So they're good to go.
They're already looking way better. The swelling is going down on their faces, and obviously we're not going to put them in a kennel together anytime soon.
No.
But they are no longer having to fight for resources, and so I think once they settle in and get to where they're going to go, they're going to be decent dogs. They just need to know that they don't have to fight anymore to survive.
So it wasn't exactly the sketchy situation that I was looking for.
Yeah, we didn't have to.
I would like to get in some sketchy shit.
We didn't even get to use our catch pole or anything. Yeah.
Like, I miss that.
Yeah.
I mean,
machetes on the ground and porn on the walls.
Yes, I remember under OMD, our first hoarding case. That was sketch as shit.
Yes.
And Perry, we've talked about that. That's a whole other episode. Go look that up. The Perry 7. The Knoxville 13 we did together. Yeah, that was still within our first year. That was wild.
Yeah.
And that's the beauty and the downfall of being as successful as OMD is you kind of get trapped into
a little bit of
group chats and paperwork.
Administration. Yeah, we want some action.
So if we get the chance to do some sketchy shit, we're going to do it.
We're going to do it. Not that we're wanting sketchy shit to have to do.
No,
if it comes up, we're game,
Of course.
But it was cool. I mean, I cannot think of one group or person that would have gone and said, yeah, I'm going to take these beat up ditch pit bulls. So that was pretty cool to be able to be like, yeah, we'll figure this out. And hopefully it all works out. So we've got 2 boys now that are vetted and ready to look for homes. And I think they're actually going to be really great dogs. They were very sweet when we were there. And she says they're really nice. They obviously have some resource guarding and probably prey drive stuff just from being on the land.
But they're young enough that they'll be
fine.
Trained out of that.
Yeah, they'll be fine.
And the beautiful thing about all of this is there's a lot of awareness that has come out of it. So I contacted the Ringgold County Sheriff about this case. He stated that they do not essentially participate in any dogs outside of Mount Ayr city limits for the entire county of Ringgold.
Yeah, there's no help.
So he has my personal number. I have his personal number, and I told him if we're happy to help whenever we can. So he, if anything else comes up in Ringgold County, they
hopefully
have somewhere to go.
Bloody.
Also, Jessica, I want to call her out. She wants to do some fundraising down to the lake this summer. There's, a huge lake population down at Sun Valley. So, and it's all disposable income. So, we're going to do bingo and brunch. I've already talked to the clubhouse about doing that. Jessica wants to do bingo or something in Elston. And that's where our vet reference has Jamie.
Yeah.
I met Jamie at the clubhouse as well. He's a retired vet, and he has signed on to help us in any way and got us hooked up with vaccinations, and he's happy to help us in that way. So
yeah, I mean, it's pretty great.
It's all about connections and
really
favors.
And in rural Iowa, there's not a lot of options if you see something wrong. And so a lot of times I think, abuse and abandoned dogs, they just get shot by the nearest property owner because they just don't, there's no one to call.
Yeah.
And if
the property owner nearest to this situation was told Jessica,
they better not call
I hope those dogs don't come on my property because they're going to be shot on point.
Yeah.
Which I understand because he has cattle.
Yeah.
And
chickens
they were,
and all kinds of things.
Being aggressive towards each other, so
I mean,
he's got kids, and I get it.
They
you don't know who these dogs are.
Even us were like, I don't know if we can help these dogs. Yeah. And so hopefully, I think it's all going to work out for the best for everybody and every dog, but it was a lot.
Yeah.
So anyway, that was our big kind of sort of rescue.
Kind of sort of.
We showed up.
Half-ass.
We showed up. We paid the bill.
Which she was very thankful for. She's like, I've never had any help with this kind of stuff before, so.
Yeah, I think she's kind of the rescue gal down there because she's the dog groomer and people know her and know that she cares. So anyway, we're thankful for her for housing the dogs for right now because we had no plan.
Yeah.
Speaking of feral dogs, our favorites, Carrie and Mario, they first of all, graciously invited us to their restaurant this last Saturday to have kind of a fellowship time with a few of our fosters, and we had a freaking blast. It was a good time. We like to get together with everybody and things.
So we had invited all of the fosters that weren't able to make it to our annual foster dinner back in February.
Yes.
And none of them were able to attend
because of Easter weekend.
Which I didn't even... As an agnostic person,
it
did not even show up on my radar.
No, we had no idea until people kept saying, we have Easter, and we're like, oh, never mind.
Okay.
Well, we're going to do it anyway. Yeah. So we did. We had a nice little group and had a good time. But anyway, a few days prior, Carrie had taken in a breeder release little Shih Tzu who's going to turn 1 next month. So he's still really young. But he was one of those puppies that didn't sell situation. So he's just been sitting in a kennel and barely touched, going crazy, under-socialized, just feral at this point. So she's up for the challenge. She said Mario's actually being somewhat supportive about the whole situation. And this dog is wild. Okay, so it's like a Shih Tzu, whatever. So I said, oh my God, I'll be over there.
Right.
And she's like, can you help
me? How much does this dog weigh?
12 pounds, 13 pounds.
Right.
So she's like, I need some help putting a harness on him so I can try and get him moved around at least because I can't touch him because he tries to bite me. I'm like, okay, fine. I'll be over. So I go do a meet and greet with another dog, help a different foster out, and then I head over to Carrie's house, and I sit down on the ground. I'm kind of petting the dog, and it's snipping at me, and I'm like, all right. So I put on my welding gloves, and I was like, well, it's going to try and bite me. It is what it is. Whatever. I'm just going to grab it and put this harness on it so we can at least, move it around. Because it was getting spayed that next, Monday after. Or neutered, I should say. And I pick up the dog. And after it flailed everywhere and had lost its mind, but it finally started to calm down. So it was no longer trying to bite me. It wasn't flailing. I was holding it, and I'm sitting crisscross applesauce in front of this kennel, move it onto my lap, and immediately starts 48 hours worth of urine coming out of its body. She said he hadn't peed, poop, ate, or drank or anything, and he was
she was right about that.
All of it. So it peed all over me so much that my whole entire pants were soaking wet and there was a puddle underneath of me. It was like someone had dumped a gallon of pee on my lap. And I just kept having to sit there and hold this dog because I'm like, if I let it go, the pee is going to fly everywhere, all over her living room. I'm right in the middle of her living room, next to her carpet, next to her couch. I was like, I just got to keep sitting here. And she looks at me and she's like, what can I do? And I was like, it's just a minute, like it's just going to be a minute. And then she goes, oh God, he pooped. So at the same time, he begins having like explosive diarrhea all over, and it had like just gone next to me, which was nice. But then I like kind of moved over and she's like, what do you need? And I was like, I'm going to need, and I looked down and the diarrhea had kept going. And it was then all over my pants, all the way from my hip down to the bottom of the leg of my pants. So I'm just absolutely saturated in pee and poop. Like more, like I may as well have been in an actual golden shower.
Just imagining you sending a scratch and sniff sticker.
This was the most rancid, like, because the pee was like,
super concentrated.
Super concentrated. Because it had been holding it for 2 days, terrified, like so stinky. I'm like,
I know exactly what you're talking about.
And the diarrhea was awful, so I'm gagging.
The pee that like crystallizes.
Yes.
When it dries.
Gagging, and she goes, okay, I'm gonna go get you a towel or a rag, she said. And I was like, I'm like standing there, I'm like, I don't know, is she okay? And she leaves, and she comes back with quite literally like a wash rag. Like a 3x5, like wash rag.
She went to her cupboard and said, what towel am I okay throwing away? And that's all she could come up with.
A tiny little wash rag. And I held onto it. Like I'm holding onto the dog with one hand. And I held onto the wash rag and I said, I think you're going to have to show me where your bathroom is. So I'm still holding onto the dog. At this point, he has released every bodily fluid he had.
Oh.
Everything. All over me. So I stand up, and there's a puddle beneath me. There's a pile of poop on the floor next to me. My leg is completely smeared with poop, and I'm dripping pee. And so I get across her living room. She takes me to the bathroom, and I just take my shoes off in her bathroom and get in the shower with all my clothes on. And meanwhile, I'm still holding the dog.
And sober.
And sober. It was in the morning. I'm still holding the dog.
That matters.
When's the last time you got in the shower with all your clothes on?
Oh, it's been a while.
So, anyway, I'm standing there. I still have the dog because now the dog is covered in its own urine. Like,
in the shower?
Yes. It's a white dog, and so he's yellow at this point because I had him sitting kind of upright. So not only was he peeing on me, he was peeing all over himself as well.
Oh, he deserves it.
He did. And so I shoved him under the faucet, and then I still am in my disgusting clothes, and Carrie's like, now.
Yeah, what is Carrie doing? Well, is she laughing?
She's laughing. Well, she took my picture when I stood up. And then she's laughing, and also she just keeps saying, like, now what's next? Like, what do we do next? And so I'm just being calm as I am, like, no, whatever. And so she leaves to go. I said, I'm going to need you to go to find a pair of Mario's sweatpants. So she leaves for a while, and the dog and I shower together. I get him rinsed off, and she comes back, and she's got 3 or 4 different sizes of harnesses. And all the while, the dog's trying to bite us. In fact, while we were showering together, I had my hair in a braid, and at one point, he latched onto my braid with his jaws. And he was just hanging from my braid while I was trying to clean us off. So I get him ripped out of my hair, and she comes back. We try on 2 harnesses. Finally, we get one that fits.
Did you ever consider drowning him while you were in the shower?
Yes. Waterboarding was on the table. It didn't happen, but
Good
yeah,
for you.
thought about it.
Good. Oh, shit. Good for you.
So we got his harness on, and I was like, okay, let's get him back to the crate, and then I'm going to put on these sweatpants, So I'm soaking wet, and I dry off my feet. I'm still in these clothes, and we get back, and I put him in the crate. We shut him in the crate. He kind of calms down a little bit. I go back, change into Mario's sweatpants, which apparently were his skinny sweatpants, she says, because they fit me to
Mario's a big boy.
I know. I was like, oh my God, these are going to be huge, and I tried them on.
I wouldn't fight him in a...
No. But then I put these sweatpants on, and they fit me, and she goes, don't worry. He hasn't been able to wear those for 30 years. They were wrinkled in the bottom of the drawer. I was like, okay. Well, fine. They fit
Oh
me
my
good. So
God.
she's like, you can keep those. I was like, well.
I was going to say, did you give them back?
No, she said I could keep
Did you have them laundered?
No. Yeah. So anyway, then she tied my pants up in a grocery sack and
Can you
kind of
imagine
cleaned up
trying
everything.
to explain a dry cleaning ticket to our CPA?
Now what's this for?
Business expense.
Business
I don't know.
expense.
Business expense. Oh,
We meet with her on Tuesday, by the way.
Yeah,
Tomorrow.
Oh my God. So anyway, that happened, and that little dog is named Tempo, and Carrie is working her magic. She got his cone off after his neuter. She got him to the neuter. She didn't get peed on when taking his cone off, so that was something. But he's going to be a long ride.
Well, he was he on our, yeah, he was one of our intakes. We had 18 intakes in the past 2 weeks.
Yes.
And he was one of them.
Yes.
Probably, well, yeah, probably the most.
He was the worst one.
Psychotic one of the 18.
Yeah. Even of the bloody pit bulls, they were fine compared to this thing.
They were actually quite sweet.
Yeah, they're very nice little dogs.
Well, that's hilarious. Good for you, though. What a commitment.
Oh, my God. So, anyway, and then, we've had several other ones. We had Bernie's Mountain Dog, kind of. It's like 90% Bernie's Mountain Dog and kind of not. So we named it like Bernish. Fady, which is like the cutest little Shih Tzu ever that came up from Missouri for us. Jazz, tell about Jazz.
So Jazz came from Calhoun County Shelter. She was an owner surrender out of Fort Dodge. Met her in Fort Dodge.
Somewhere.
Manson. Out of Manson, met her in Fort Dodge. And we've talked in the past about kind of pairing up dogs age-wise to adopters age-wise.
Yeah.
And I think that this one would have worked out quite well because this dog has 1 foot in the grave.
Yeah.
And I think its owner does too.
She has no eyeballs. And we're talking about the dog, not
the dog. Yeah. So Kara and Shelly from Calhoun County were Shelly said something about that she had contacted the owner, and the owner said she has a cough and a something or whatever, and she hopes that she's not dying. And I said, the dog or the owner? Which one are we talking about?
Probably both.
But anyway, Jazz is like she'll be 14 on July 1st. She has no eyes. About 3 years ago, her one eye got glaucoma, and for some reason, I have never, in very severe cases, have I seen an eye being taken for glaucoma.
Yeah, it must have had an ulcer or something.
Last year, glaucoma happened to the other eye, and they did the same thing. So now this dog has no eyes. It's like a Jack Russell mix.
Oh, little rat terrier.
Rat terrier mix, yeah. What's going on here?
Oh, Lord.
Anyway, super sweet. Nails are incredibly grown out, but its owner had a stroke, and so obviously there's issues there, and that's why she had to surrender the dog because she's going into a nursing home and
yes, and so
yada yada yada.
Yeah, and she thinks it's like mostly death too, but anyway,
she perks her ears up when I would, or
talk, yeah,
do the noises.
Okay,
Thank
good.
you.
But yeah, so
she's really sweet,
and her foster loves her already, and they're gonna get her as fixed up as she needs to be fixed up for being 14.
At 14,
And Pinta, I wanted to call out. Pinta is, I think they say it Pinta, but that's a horrible name, so I'm changing it in my head to Pinta. She was a fan favorite dog out at Paws and Pines, goes to daycare every day, and the owners are moving out of the country, and this is like a huge dog, so it was like a big deal to try and take it with them. And so Paws and Pines reached out to me, the owner reached out to me, and actually one of the daycare workers at Paws and Pines signed up to foster for us so that she could foster this dog. So that was pretty cool, and I think then Pinta gets to keep going to daycare and things.
And this has been a while in the works.
Yeah, I told her I told her it might be like months before we found a spot, and then luckily one of the daycare workers agreed to take her, and she's a really great dog, gets along with everybody, like a American Bulldog mix thing. So cool. Stumpy, oh my God, I almost left Stumpy on the side of the road. I was literally...
There's something not right about that dog, and I showed my entire family that dog yesterday, and they're like, you show them the picture, and they're like, It's one of those optical illusions because it's got it's like a head of a horse on a human body situation.
Right. Well, it's like my dog, kind of. Like, he's got short legs and a big fat head.
Everybody thinks it's adorable. I think it looks very weird.
I think it's kind of cute, but the mix is Australian Shepherd Dachshund. And it looks exactly like a giant long-haired dachshund with an Australian Shepherd head.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's super strange.
From like its shoulders up.
Yes.
Though, not just the head.
Right.
That's what makes it weird.
It is weird. Anyway, I get there, and no one is crying. No one's upset. There was a million reasons why they said they were getting rid of this dog. There was a bit of a language barrier. They lived with their parents who spoke only like Vietnamese or something, and so I'm trying to get information about like what is going on with this dog and like why they need our help or whatever. But it was a referral from another rescue, and she knew a family member of this owner of this dog, and whatever. I show up, I go to take the dog. Immediately, it starts lunging and barking at me, and I'm like, "What the heck?" Like,
how many pounds is this dog?
30.
Would you say? Really?
Yeah, it's pretty big. I mean, for like being, it's like the length of like a golden retriever, but like 4 inches off the ground. Like, it's a big dog, but like short. It's like a giant corgi size. But I'm like, and then I get the dog finally shoved in the car with very little help from the owners who are showing zero emotion about this whole thing. I get her tied into the back seat.
I think that's a cultural thing.
Yes, I think so. Because she's too big for the carrier I brought when they told me it was a 20-pound dog.
Right.
And so I get her tied in the back seat. She lunges at me again, and I shut the door, and I was like, I immediately, like, I was just like, I'm pissed off. I'm, like, having a bad morning, and I'm, like, already mad about a couple of other things that had happened that morning, and I'm like, does this dog have a bite history? Like, and they're like, no. And I was like,
yeah, right.
I'm like, he's never bitten a human. You're telling me no, never? Like, as fearful as this dog is right now, never bitten anybody? And they're like, no. And I said, does it? And then I take my little Yorkie with me, when I go to do these drives and stuff, so I have a friend to talk to. And
Squinty?
Squinty's in the front seat. And so Squinty's like, I'm going to go back there and see that dog. And that dog was like, I'm going to kill this thing,
Oh, no.
Because he was so freaked out, So then I had to tie Squinty to the front seat so she didn't jump back to go see the dog in the back. And it was like this whole thing. And I'm all mad. And so then I get back out and I said, is there anything else I need to know about this dog? Because I'm about to take it to go to a foster home that has 2 little dogs.
Right.
Is this going to be a problem? And the girl just goes, I'm sorry. And I was like,
love that.
Okay. I was like, all right. And I'm backing out.
Goodbye.
I'm backing out, and my windows are down, and the dog is just in my ear, shriek barking, like telling me to regret every decision that I had made the night before when I said that I would take this dog.
Why did they want to get rid of it?
I don't know.
Yeah.
There was like a million reasons that none of them made sense. So, but yeah, I like screamed some expletives out the window and drove away, and then I had to then message our friend who had like sent this reference to say like, hey,
don't do that again.
When the people reach out to you and let you know that the lady that came to pick up their dog was like pretty rude, I was.
Yeah. Well, you know what?
And then I had to stop and get
feel
gas.
bad about that.
Yeah, no. I had to stop and get gas, and this dog is like shriek barking in the back of my car and just would not shut up. And I'm like, I'm having a bad moment in rescue here. But
when I'm solving your problems, I
very little patience.
Very many apologies.
Yes. So anyway, I got him dropped off, and actually, once I got him there, I sat down on the ground. He jumped up on my lap. He was scared. He just wanted to be comforted. He was just terrified. But it was a terrible experience. But
worse
he's fine
than
now.
The pee and poop situation. Probably not.
Actually, kind of. I got new sweatpants out of the deal with the pee and poop situation.
There are a few others.
Yes. Yeah, we've had a few. Well, we got a call from Carrie and then from the Iowa City shelter.
Oh, yeah.
For Darla, who is a little 5-month-old puppy.
So Carrie messaged and said that there was this 5-month-old dog at Iowa City shelter.
Weighs 7 pounds.
And it didn't get along with other dogs and was returned twice or something for aggression. Yeah. I'm like, I'm sorry, did you say 5 years or 5 months? And she said 5 months. I'm like, no.
No. I'm like, we'll fix it.
Not. Like, that's not happening.
Yeah.
You don't have aggression issues at 5 months old.
And 7 pounds. Like, it's just a
baby.
On.
She's just a baby.
But she's really sweet, actually loves people, and she is with a gal who does, they call it like pack walks, like river or something. I don't know. I'll link it in.
But also, how is a shelter What are you doing?
Yeah, I don't know. But the guy called me again, and he was like, "Hey, I just wanted to check to make sure that the foster you found doesn't have other dogs." And I said, "Oh, they've got other dogs, but we know how to deal with this." And he goes, "Okay."
What?
Like, put up a baby gate. The thing weighs 7 pounds.
And this is Iowa City Shelter. Like, they are overwhelmed because Iowa City has a dog ordinance, number of dogs that you can have in Iowa City limits. So they're overwhelmed all the time.
Well,
because people, obviously it's a it's a high metro.
Right.
Relative in Iowa. Like, there's Des Moines and then Iowa City.
Yeah,
like,
they're very busy.
Names.
But anyway, the foster is a new foster that spoke up kind of out of nowhere and had previously signed up to foster, and they do in-home board and trains and these pack walks, which I've been meaning to go on one of these pack walks because basically you go out into a rural area or on the Raccoon River trails or whatever, and you keep your dogs on the leash, and then they don't interact with the other dogs, but they're just around other dogs to be able to like experience them and like it's a really good training tool. And so they've actually been doing that with her from the day I brought her there. And I kind of freaked out. I was like, "Are you going to take her on a walk today?" And they're like, "Yeah." And I was like, "She literally just got sprung from the shelter this morning." I was like, "Do not lose this dog." And she goes, she's like, "I'm not like your regular first time foster. I know what I'm doing." And I was like, "All right, but I've had to chase a chihuahua through the woods before, so don't screw this up." And she was like, "We won't." And the boyfriend was like, "You should probably do some deep breathing." And I go, "Oh my God, I gotta go."
You should probably do some deep breathing.
He's like, "Let's breathe together." And I said, "Oh, no. I got a big cup of coffee in the car. I gotta move. Like, I gotta get out of here." But they turned out to be really incredible, and this dog is already making huge strides, so it is what it is. But it was just one of those days in rescue. And then right after that is when I got
Well, everything was moving that day.
Yeah.
Because you were in Newton picking up that one, and I was in Boone picking up, and then there was a third one you picked up after that.
Yes.
And there was all this, and then we had the dinner that night, and it was just
chaotic
chaos.
Yeah, it really was.
Like, all right, let's not today. We're not doing any deep breathing today.
They did not see me at my best, but I'm just here to say, like, as any male or female, if someone is like clearly amped up and just trying to tell you something,
you need to calm down.
Do not say they need to deep breathe, and do not say they need to calm down, because that's not how it's gonna work.
Hilarious.
And I don't get amped up too much, but I had just dealt with idiots.
So we had 18 intakes and 10 adoptions.
Yes.
So Nala finally got adopted.
Finally. And that worked out because Barbie had to go on a vacation. Yeah. She had to go on a vacation, so we actually brought in a temporary foster who ended up adopting Nala. And we don't do that very often, the foster to adopt thing, but it was perfect. Like, it was just what she needed. So
Sushi finally got adopted too. Rhonda had done a great job with her, cleaning and rotating.
Sushi had like a cancerous mass removed from her leg, and she was spicy.
Yeah.
With other dogs, and we found a no dog home, so that was great.
Poof, the Pomeranian, finally got adopted. I do not want to take one more freaking phone call about that dog.
No.
Cersei, Sandman, they were both out of
2 of those Airedales.
Momoa was that, I don't even want to talk about it anymore.
Yeah, stupid doodle situation.
Toffee.
But found like the greatest people ever.
Yep. They were really good.
Incredible. Like, they
knew what they were doing.
Yeah, they had gotten a crazy high energy doodle before.
Exact opposite of the people that adopted her
the first time.
Before.
Yes. I
not from us.
Yeah, no. But we told her everything about this dog, and I was like, he's gonna need some major training. We did a walk, and first of all, the dog was on his best behavior. But second of all, they were like, "You know what? This dog is nothing compared to what our dog was when we first got it." We sent him away to a 6-week board and train, and I was like, "Oh, that's expensive." She goes, "Yeah, we don't tell people how much it cost unless they really ask
very
us."
Expensive.
And she's like, "We'll do it again if we have to." And
it's like $2,500, $3,000.
$6,000.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
They went somewhere high end then.
Yeah. Well, I think someone that we know that just sent their dog away, one of our volunteers, I think it was $5,000 or something like that.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Wish I had their problems.
I know, but it works.
Maui, that I'll never understand that.
Maui Wowie, an 88-pound pit bull. I thought when we said yes, and I was really strict about us saying yes to this.
Forever.
We take Maui Wowie to this event at Paws and Pints.
Had it for less than a week.
Yeah. one event, and they had like vendors at this event, right? And there's a vendor there who sells like these custom bandanas. They're absolutely adorable, and they're very kind people. They live on like several acres of land. They've got a few dogs, and the husband had always wanted a big beefy pit bull. This one was like 6 years old, and he came over to meet him, and he goes, "Oh man," he's like, "I really, I would like to have that dog." Even the wife was like, "Oh God, don't let my husband see that dog. He's gonna want him." And he sat across from us, and he said, "I wasn't gonna do it. I wasn't gonna apply, even though I really wanted him, but I kept watching him interact with all the other dogs and all the other people, and I felt jealous." And I felt like, he's like, I felt jealous. So I knew that this dog was meant to be for me. So he applied, and I pulled up my phone. And I was like, oh, somebody applied for Maui Wowie. And he's squatting down, scruffling the dog, and I just see their faces. And I was like, and he raised his hand. He goes, "It was me."
I'm the problem.
And he went home with them that day, and he's doing amazing.
I love that. Yeah. Speaking of pit bulls getting adopted, I had a call on the bat phone. I didn't even log it. I didn't want to even remember it. Anyway, this guy called, and he has a pit bull mix. He's had it since it was 6 months old. He adopted it from Marion County Shelter, and now we're 2 years in, and he has to move, and he can't take the dog with him. Weird. Mm-hmm. He calls the bat phone, and I'm talking to him, and I explained to him, like, hey, at that time, we had 3 pit bulls already on our roster, and, like, no.
Yeah.
Moving without somewhere to take them to is not an excuse that
I
can
really talked about for us,
yeah.
Like, we can't be super picky, but what we can do is not take too many of a certain breed so that we don't oversaturate ourselves.
The hard placement breeds.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we get tracked down with hard placement breeds, and then we can't save dog. Anyway, okay, that's for another time. And he just kept pressing and pressing and pressing, and I'm like, bro, I've told you no.
Like, we don't have anywhere to put this dog.
And I've explained to you why it's a no. I finally said, I'm guessing I'm not your first phone call. He's like, no, I've called everybody in a 250-mile radius, and everybody has told me no. And I said, okay. I said, I'm not judging you. I'm just purely curious, honest to God. I'm just purely curious. What is it that drew you to adopting a pit bull mix or a pit bull in general or buying a pit bull? Like, what is it? Because I'm trying to understand the cycle. I'm trying to understand where the demand is coming from. Mm-hmm. No answer. Like, I can't help you, bro. Yeah. Like, there's nothing I can do.
Yeah.
And he just kept pressing and pressing and pressing. I'm like,
where am I going to put it, buddy?
What do you want me to do?
Yeah.
He's like, oh, it's just the sweetest dog. I'm sure it is.
They are
wonderful dogs.
Impossible to find adopters for when they're not puppies.
I would highly encourage you to find somewhere that allows your dog.
Mm-hmm. Figure it out, because otherwise you're going to have to make a bad choice, and we don't want to have to be a part of that. And we'll help as many pit bulls as we can, but we just can't take on 20 at a time, or we wouldn't be able to do anything anymore. Like, we would just be locked down.
I think
and
they
we'd lose
need
all of our
to
fosters.
Rebrand the breed.
Yeah, let's name it something.
Honestly.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I've got...
Because that's never going to go away.
No, it's not.
It's never going to go away.
No, I will always have a pit bull or some form of a pit bull because I love the breed, but I will keep it for its life.
That's the thing. If you get one, you need to intend
and know what you're doing.
That you're going to have it until it dies.
Yes.
Because there's nowhere for that dog to go.
There's nowhere for it to go. You are its home, and that's it. You've given that dog a home. Great, good for you. Pat yourself on the back and stick with it. I did get back a little bit of faith in humanity today when I got called by a pit bull owner who their 9-year-old pit bull who they've had for like 7 years was starting to show behaviors that they hadn't seen before, and they were concerned, and they wanted to know what their options were, and they wanted advice, and they wanted recommendations, and so on. And we talked at length about, mental stimulation, physical stimulation, training, creating and rotating, what kind of behaviors, medication that it's on, and switching from this medication to that medication, and how long it takes for just like for humans, when you get put on like an SSRI, what is your doctor going to tell you? It's the same for a dog, and he seemed like a very responsible pit bull owner. He genuinely was calling for advice and calling for recommendations and wanted to make it work. And I'm like,
chef kiss, please.
Yes. Well, and he wasn't calling one day before he had to move.
Right.
Like to.
He wanted to know what his options. He goes, realistically, what are our resource options? I said, realistically, there are none.
Yeah.
Realistically,
none.
There aren't.
But there's things that you
in an
can
emergency,
do.
Maybe, but
there's
where you're at right now,
there's
things that you can do right now to prevent it from becoming an emergency, and I highly encourage you to do X, Y, Z, A, B, C.
Yeah.
And he was very receptive to it, and he was very
That's
thankful
awesome.
for all of the recommendations.
That never
Love
happens.
those bat phone calls.
No, that never happens.
Let's get some more of those.
Lord. Oh man. Well, obviously we went from last time we had like our intakes and adoptions, we had kind of been light, and then there was one day this week where we had like went ham, and Holly's like, we took in a lot of dogs today. It's like, yeah, we went a little crazy today. I clearly didn't have enough calls at my regular job.
I think we're filling back up with the right mixture.
I do too. We've got a good group of dogs right now that I think we can find good homes for and take good care of.
And I feel good about them.
Mhm.
Like, there's some in there that were, shelter transfers.
A nice mix of
Fady. There's some that were owner releases, which were owner went to nursing home. Munchie, I don't remember what that owner release was about, but and then the ones down in southern Iowa, like
some actual
we're responding to
shit.
some like actual rescue shit, not just people moving that can't take their dog.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So that's what we're looking for. I mean, we can't always get the exact mix we want, but it has been a better mix since we started to like
more
actively
intentional about it.
Intentional.
Yeah.
So yeah, and then I think the last chunk of dogs that we took in were brought in by none other than Natasha. She called, and first of all, again, she knows to call us before 10 a.m. on a weekend, and both of us are definitely still sleeping. And
like she hasn't figured that out.
She has.
I see you.
She knows.
Nasha.
She knows us. She knows it well. But anyway, she called because she had seen this dog several times on a giveaway site, and the pictures were awful with like garbage and poop and like obvious like hoarding situation and like a nasty trailer park. She said,
She called me on a Wednesday, and I happened to be doing my midweek luncheon with Jenny, my friend Jenny, which.
So you'd had enough tequila to say yes to 3 labs?
We're off the tequila. We've been off the tequila for a month now because we're never doing that again. That was awful.
Probably by summer you'll be back on.
But by 2:30, it was fine.
Yeah.
And that's exactly when Natasha called. So I was like, yeah. She sent over the pictures of this dog in this.
Literally
I'm like,
a poop trailer.
Just get that dog out of there. So she goes over there. And this is like, what was that little show with the little girl with the blonde hair, little tiny girl, and the mom that was like.
I'm going to need more information.
Anyway, it looked like one of those situations. And I was like, okay, let's get that dog out of there. I mean, there's trash everywhere. I mean, you can just tell by the background photos of these pictures what kind of situation. And we've talked about this at length of not being judgmental or whatever, but like, I'm just taking the facts as they are. And I said, okay. And then she calls me, and she had sent the precursor message about how something about you're the husband and I'm calling you for permission or some shit like that. I'm like, I'm not following, but okay. She calls me and I'm like, what's going on? And she's like, hey, so what do you think about da da da? And she's being all like
weird,
innocent and weird. I'm like, yeah, right?
Am I pretending to
you
be
okay?
someone?
And she's like, yeah, hubby, how are you? I'm like, oh,
Got it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes, you should take all of them. Because turns out there's the mom and two puppies.
And she said that what she found out was that they had a litter of puppies and 3 of them had already died.
Yeah, because they went to Tractor Supply and got vaccines.
Vaccinated these puppies, probably wrong dosage, wrong vaccine. Who knows what the heck they did? But they killed 3 of the 5 puppies.
Oh my God.
So then they had 2 puppies left, and she asked what they were doing with them, and they said they were trying to sell them, and she was like, they smell rotten, they're covered in pee and poop, and like So she convinced them to let her take mom and the 2 puppies, and she just left behind the dad.
She's calling me for permission. I'm like, what am I going to, obviously she should be doing that because that's the protocol. But at the same time, it's like, yes, take anything living off of that property.
Yeah.
Anything that's still alive by the grace of God.
Yeah.
And bring it on home.
Yeah. And she did leave behind some flea and tick for the dad, which she couldn't take, and she said he was pretty aggressive and she wasn't able to get him, and they just left him there, and apparently he just runs.
Okay.
And comes back.
Well, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Should have left a card.
So anyway,
for that dog to get neutered. Natasha, I called Holly during all this. She played the best husband ever as I pretended she was my husband, asking me if I could bring them all home. Natasha, Nasha, and her shady shit.
Shady shit.
Always happy to play along.
Yes, but anyway, one of those puppies has already gone home, and they're all jet black, which I'm surprised that we got one of them out the door that quickly, but we did. The other 2,
which is interesting. Foster spotlight.
Yes.
Lucy.
Lucy.
We still have Lucy. She is the best dog ever.
Seriously, the best dog.
We actually talked about her at the foster dinner Saturday night.
Mm-hmm.
I don't get it.
And the foster drives her down here for every event that we have. She brings her to the dog park, and she's perfect.
She's like 80% trained.
Yeah, everybody loves her.
Sit, stay, the whole
everything.
Other little
potty
small
train,
tricks, potty train, kennel train, the whole thing.
The only thing is she can't be with cats or chickens. Which we have a couple of no cats or chickens dogs. But other than that, perfect. Great with all the other dogs, no problem. And she's a long-haired, kind of nondescript black dog, but beautiful.
But that is black dogs.
Yep, it sure is. So anyway, now we've got 3 black dogs that need a home. So
go share all of our black dogs.
Yes, please. That'd be great.
Black dogs' lives matter too.
They sure do.
They need all the help they can get.
They really are marginalized, and they get looked past and euthanized first. And we're always going to try and have help where we can with that, just because it's such a ridiculous thing. It makes no sense to me.
In honor of our 1-year anniversary, I think we should bring back the stupid dog joke.
Oh, well.
Do you happen to have one?
I do. So when we went out on Saturday night, we went to dinner at Tamia and Sons, and we had pasta, and the boys had steaks, and we had lots of libations, and then we decided the party shall not stop here. We continued on to the most hidden bar in all of Des Moines. It's County Line.
Do you remember me calling my brother?
No.
I don't either, but apparently I did.
It wasn't in my presence.
We went, no, it was after he said it yesterday in front of my entire family. I remembered. Don't you remember? I was like, I picked my phone up and I was like, oh, Kyle, hi.
Oh, you didn't call him though. It was just ringing with his name on there. You didn't even do anything. But we did talk to him for a short minute. Yeah, that's true.
And Kyle was like, I knew you were having a great time because you told me that you loved me.
Well, we were having a great time, and we played some games with the bar regulars who we showed up. We put Oh My Dog stickers all over that place, and
we played left, right, center.
Played left, right, center on the pool table, and Marcus won, and he said he's gonna pay for some microchips for us. And Holly had 2 beautiful dances right in the middle of that bar, and
with Alec, who I knew as a regular.
And a not person you didn't know. You said, I'm going to go ask that guy to dance with me. And I said, okay, and I filmed it.
So. Yeah, I'm pretty sure he's undocumented. Probably shouldn't talk about him.
We don't know his name or where he came from or where he's going to. But he had no idea what you were saying, but the dance was beautiful. Anyway, I did, thought about it a while. And, people are really good dancers. And sometimes dogs will try and jump up and dance with you if you've got music playing and stuff. But they're not good dancers.
And why is that?
They've got 2 left feet.
But
I gotta start bringing those back.
I think so. All right. Well, thank you so much for hanging with us for a whole year. We are so in love with doing this podcast.
It's really fun, and
I love listening. Our episode last week when we were singing The Rescuers. I listened to that all the time. And I listen to the song on YouTube, and it just brings me so many smiles.
I gotta dig out my commemorative glasses for you. I think
Please do.
I think I've got 2 sets.
I love that.
Yes. But anyway, we're gonna keep rescuing. We'll keep figuring it out.
We will figure it out.
Oh my dog.
What I mean when I see, what I see, what I feel, when I dream, when I be, I'm a freak. What up? Oh, what up? Everybody look at me when I'm free, when I feel, what I see, when I do it, I'm a freak. What up? Oh, what up? Say what we got, it's hot to spot, give up the drop, see what we got, do what, we got to go, the body flow, too hot to show, the front row, we won't stop.